Once you look at Bitcoin, it's like a Medusa asset. Everything else looks like stone. Pet rocks all the way up, all the way down.
And Jack is a big proponent saying that Bitcoin will die if it's not a medium of exchange as well as a store of value. So Where do you land in that debate and where do you see it right now?
In order to exchange anything, I need to agree with you that it's valuable first. To make a healthy network of exchanges, they all have to agree that it's valuable.
I still think it's very important to have that experience. If you've never spent a single cent on anything,
you got to. You feel like you're contributing. You feel like you're participating. It is quite magical. The fact that we've been able to agree on something 900,000 times in a row, that is wild. Bitcoin has become this coordination tool for a distributed system across Earth. Man, humanity is very clever. Now imagine you sprinkle 50% more clarity of thought into everyone's brain. Where do we go? Dude, Elon's going to Mars, someone's going to go to another dimension. Bitcoin can be a bit of a gateway drug to a civilization like that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bitcoin News channel. I'm your host, Rob Wallace, and today I am very grateful to be joined by Michael Dunworth, early Bitcoiner, builder, and philosophical thinker. He was the co-founder of crypto payments company Wire, and he is known for his strong takes on Bitcoin's direction and humanity's future. Michael, how are you doing today?
Dude, thanks for having me, Rob. I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing good, man. Yes. So awesome. We were just talking and I've seen you on podcasts for years, Bitcoin podcasts. You talk about everything from philosophy to time to we're just diving into the Bitcoin versus core versus knots debate. But before we get into all that, let's talk about your background. You left your home country of Australia and went to San Francisco to strike it big, and you did. Tell us about it.
Oh man, I mean, what's the saying I used to give was actors go to Hollywood, nerds go to San Francisco. You know, it's the same thing. You go there with a dream. I went on a one-way ticket to San Francisco because I was really passionate about trying to build something, just something meaningful, right? Like, everyone's trying to figure something out. And I was like, man, I just want to build something meaningful or add value in some way. And I got so blessed because I moved over there into a hacker house, which is basically like an orphanage with Wi-Fi. Like if you wanted to think about it, it's like, 20 to 30-year-olds, everyone's there for temporary housing, bunk beds everywhere. It was awesome, dude. And I got so fortunate. I met my co-founder like the third day I got there. So I didn't know him, and I just started jamming on some ideas, and one thing led to another. And, he ended up being like, almost like an angel from heaven in a way, like the perfect companion to ride this journey and try and write a story with. He was he's a very hard worker. He's a very impressive individual at what he does, basically. That's Yanni, my co-founder. And then obviously as you grow, you hire people and you learn from them, and all part of this experience, like, dude, to be honest, I'm the luckiest person on earth. Like, do you know how few people get to have some opportunity like that? And let's forget all this. Not only did I get to meet the smartest people, the nicest people, the most impressive, talented people, but I got to do all that while Bitcoin was just coming alive. Like, dude, man, people talk about winning the lotto. Man, that's the lotto of a lifetime. Being at the heart of it, oh man, that's so exciting. And I thought that was really, really cool. Like I pinch myself when I think about it. Obviously, looking at what Bitcoin's become now, it's just, it's an animal. It's swallowing the earth, like legitimately. It's swallowing the consciousness of everybody, and it's updating our software emotionally and spiritually, which is great. But no, we got very blessed to build basically. We're an infrastructure provider. So, when we were building a company, we just started out as a way to spend Bitcoin because we couldn't find anywhere to spend it. And then as we started doing more and more of that, we started saying, well, let's let people buy Bitcoin through us. And then one thing led to another. And over the course of that journey, in America, you've got to get a lot of state licenses, these money transmission licenses. And obviously that's a very big undertaking. It takes a lot of time and effort, and you've got to have really smart people basically writing or doing that track for you. And we ended up doing it ourselves. And we thought, well, the better contribution for the industry is to actually try and white label our product so people can basically use it. So they, you know, if you're a developer, instead of having to go get 50 money transmission licenses over 3 years and you need to raise 5 million, like we've done that. We've done the unsexy stuff. So just use our API and get started in 6 hours instead of 6 months kind of thing, you know? And that was a really fantastic experience. And obviously in that journey, like, oh man, the dudes I got to work with, mate, these guys are from another planet, real talk. Like they're just so clever. And I learned so much from them. Everything from, you know, security to philosophy to how to execute, what not to, just, man, you're just blessed. Like, and you make 1,000 mistakes. And that's okay because your goal is to try and learn from them, I suppose. You know, so a mistake's never a problem unless you don't learn from it, really. It's like everything's a lesson. So I suppose, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly is that, you know, we scaled up to a pretty large entity. You know, Wire became, you know, sort of, I think it was sort of over 1 million users, you know, we're processing lots of money. We were working with every company. We were providing liquidity to everyone. And, you know, we had a very strong reputation for security. And I think that comes down to, you know, our architect and CTO who were they just kept drumming it into my head. Nothing matters if you do not have security. You don't get a second shot on goal. Like if you get hacked, everyone is basically, you've got a red mark forever. And so like just like those things, right? I don't know those things. I'm not, you know, an engineer by trade or anything like that. So getting to learn these lessons, very, very fortunate. And just, you know, I'm blessed, like literally. And obviously the story ended as I stepped away, stepped down as CEO, and my co-founder Yanni went into as CEO, and he scaled it up to, you know, like really big numbers, like over 100 million revenue, like, you know, that kind of stuff, like yearly revenue of 100 mil. Like it was sort of the next stop was going to be an IPO basically. And then we went to sell the company. Dude, the worst. Okay, listen to this. This is actually like, you can't, look, it's just one of those things. I still think I'm the luckiest person ever, but like, dude, we were going to sell it for 1.5 billion to this other payments company, but basically that whole year, everything just turned to mush. So what I mean by that is that was the year that Ukraine war started and FTX had their implosion. And so because we're a, you know, Bitcoin or crypto company, many of our investors or possible investors are obviously crypto hedge funds. They've got lots of assets on hand. And so most of their assets were all tied up in FTX. And so now we're in the middle of this transaction and we're sort of like, oh God, the war's started. Europe has no energy. Ukraine's getting invaded and everyone's money's not there anymore. And we're about to we're in the middle of like due diligence trying to sell the company. Anyway, look, you know, everything happens for a reason. And we were very lucky to learn a lot from that. And look, you know, like even though it might look bad, and you know, I think about it, when I think about it, I think it's unfair that the team didn't get the reward that they deserve because they busted they're the reason why it was so valuable, right? And so that sort of stings a bit when I think about that. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, if you want to be an entrepreneur, or if I've said to my younger self, hey, dude, if you really want to do it, like you really want to go for it and go to San Francisco and try and make something big, well, like be happy with all the lessons, whether they're good or bad. So, you know, to have a really high, which is like, you know, a big transaction, and then a very low, which is it basically falling apart, you get to learn from both those experiences. So you get a taste of what that awesomeness feels like, but then you get a taste of what the hardship feels like. And, you know, if I'm talking to younger people than me, and they're not like younger, they're just more like earlier in their journey. They might be year 1 or 2 of their journey. I get to share those lessons with them. And so that's really powerful because, you know, you kind of get to hand down the lessons to the next generation of people, and let them learn from you in a way, or just take it on their stride. But yeah, dude, blessed beyond belief to be part of that journey with that team. Wild, like very fortunate. So,
A metaphor that hit me while you were talking is you went to San Francisco during the digital gold rush to build infrastructure, just like during the actual gold rush, where the people who actually made money were selling the picks and axes, right? The infrastructure that made the gold rush possible. Yeah. So talk about 2013 San Francisco Bitcoin. Were people into it? Did they understand it? And it seems
not really.
like there's been some hesitation.
It was 2013. Let's see. I would think names like Dan Held, Fred Ursham, Brian Armstrong, Eric Voorhees, Charlie Shrem. Like those names were sort of the industry. Andreas Antonopoulos. They were all sort of the industry figureheads that we're all learning from. And I feel like I learned a lot from them because, before Bitcoin, I was like, cool. The government does this, and they do this, and the money does that, and whatever. But they kind of they already saw it. Like, I wasn't really one of those, screw the man type person. Like, I'm whatever. I'm a team player. I'm just going to get along with whatever. And then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are so, their thinking is so laser focused. Like, and it was so unshakable. Like, I was like, fuck, these guys are possessed almost. Like, they're obsessed with this thing. And as you start drinking the Kool-Aid, hey, you're lining up right behind them, and you think, oh my God, those guys are crazy. They're obsessed with that Bitcoin thing. 2 years later, you're like, Bitcoin. So, speaking of that, I got my statue of Satoshi and my miner.
Nice. Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So anyway, 2013 was exciting. Coinbase had just raised their Series B round. I think there was 16 or 18 million from Andreessen Horowitz, and they had just crossed, we had a double bubble year that year. So we had the Silk Road bubble, and then we had on November 28th, 2013, Bitfinex topped out at $1,205. And so I think everyone, it was just euphoria. So I remember everyone was losing coins as well, by the way, because APIs were breaking. Mt. Gox had this delays in their APIs. And so people would just lose positions or get liquidated, but no one really cared because it was going up from 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. And it was just it was a rocket ship. And one of the biggest things that happened was, in America, how they have those sort of live broadcasts from Congress where they C-bus or whatever I can't remember what it is, C-SPAN or something
C-SPAN,
like that. Yeah. So they had that, and what it was about the classification of Bitcoin exchanges as to whether or not they'd be money service businesses. And what that means is if they are, that basically the deadliest weapon to an entrepreneur is always regulatory clarity. So the moment they know exactly what they can and can't do, they're off to the races. And so that was this big kind of holding our breath moment where everyone was tuned into this live stream, and they were because if they were we don't know yet, then that's really hard for investors to come and add money to the industry. They can't invest in companies that are well, we don't know if it's going to get banned or whatever. But they were no, we believe that they're money services businesses. And so that clarity, while people were frustrated at, some sort of financial obligation or financial enforcement obligation that you got to be committed to, I saw it as actually a really powerful thing because it says, hey, they are here to help work with the industry to some degree, and let it thrive. And I think that was a very cool thing for the US to do. And they sort of set a tone with that. And obviously look at the success of Coinbase, Kraken, all these guys. Gemini, they are monsters, dude. And they're about to become bigger than JP Morgan, Deutsche, everyone. Because their asset pool is going to swell so much faster than JP Morgan's or whatever, right? So their whole assets under management are they're going to get because they're on the piggyback, they're piggybacking on that rocket ship, right? So JP Morgan's seeing a whole bunch of gold and this and that, no worries. It goes up 7% a year, great, good on you. These guys are going to be going up at 25 to 35% a year in terms of their assets under management growth. And so you're just going to see them balloon out. Coinbase is a monster right now, and they are so impressive in certain ways. What they have done to go, the amount of learning curves and stuff, I cannot fathom how performant they are when it comes to security. Obviously everyone's had problems and stuff, sure, but it's wild. The level of, one of the things I learned basically is that people's information is just as important as private keys, basically. And a lot of exchange operators sort of go, well, we lost everyone's passports, but at least we didn't lose everyone's keys. It's like, dude, now these guys are going to go on the dark web and have 100 bank accounts opened with their fake passports and identity theft. Like, the exchange operators need to have that sort of same level of respect. And I think those are part of the evolution of the industry, right? No one knows what they don't know. Everyone's trying to figure it out and do their best. No one's trying to intentionally slow the industry down. We're all lemons, we're all retards, we're all trying our best, and we're all tripping over and trying to get back up again. But man, 2013 was a really exciting time. There was a lot happening, and I remember being so like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin is going to be it. We were like, okay, let's try and make San Francisco. So our company at the time, before it was Wire, it was called Snapcard. And we had an initiative called Integrate SF. And what it was basically, we wanted San Francisco to be the capital of basically Bitcoin and like the heart of it. And so we got these custom tablets, like Android tablets made in China, got them manufactured with our payment processor on it. And we literally went round to businesses with the goal of giving 500 businesses a setup. And we did that, and it was really hard. And obviously the businesses weren't getting heaps of transactions, but it was very novelty. But that was the kind of the what we were about. We were just like, let's make something happen, whatever it is, or let's just try and figure it out and trip over along the way and keep getting back up. So yeah.
And have you heard the Square news? I mean, now that dream is actually coming to fruition.
So, yeah, dude. And the Square team is, I've got my own frustrations with certain things, obviously, like every human does, but the Square team has been, I'd say, fantastic. Like, those guys were very, because we got to collaborate with them in 2019 as they were starting to explore more depth of payment processing and Bitcoin and all that sort of stuff. And oh man, they're such an impressive team. Like, dude, they just get it. Like, obviously Jack Dorsey's incredible at building these, huge juggernaut machines. But the team was fantastic, and they were so enthusiastic about adding value to this thing, Bitcoin. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I felt like it was quite a pure intention, and it's very complementary to their business anyway. Square is the business for everyone, the business payment processor for everyone. Then, I think you're going to see a lot of people wanting that store of value. And these guys, if you're a taco truck or whatever you're doing, like Square's got such a diverse range of businesses, from enterprise to small businesses. I think it's a slam dunk for them. And I'm wishing heaps of success to them, because I think they've got a lot to navigate to try and implement something like Bitcoin, given the scale, and they're in multiple geographies, multiple jurisdictions, multiple legal compliance obligations and all that stuff. And I think while it feels like nothing's happened in a few years and it's been excitement, I'm sure they're doing a lot of heavy lifting under the hood. It takes years to become an overnight success sort of thing. So, credit to them for pushing through and getting along with it. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, and Jack is a big proponent. He's saying that Bitcoin will die if it's not a medium of exchange as well as a store of value. Yeah. And Wire, I mean, you guys started off with Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, right? That was the whole point of it. So where do you land in that debate, and where do you see it right now?
Yeah, I think I learnt a lot over my time, but one of the ones was it's sort of a chain of command. So, if I want to exchange something with you, you need to know that it's valuable. We have to agree that it's valuable, right? So if I'm going to say, hey, I'm paying you in, Freddo frogs or Caramello koalas or some chocolate bar, you'd be like, dude, I got bills to pay. The manufacturer that needs $100,000 from me doesn't need 100,000 Hershey's chocolate kisses. He needs 100,000 Australian dollars or Aussie or US. So I think it will get there, but you can't put the cart before the horse. And we all need, in order to exchange anything, I need to agree with you that it's valuable first. So you do want this medium of exchange, but the first part, the ingredient for that, is to make a healthy network of exchanges. They all have to agree that it's valuable. And so you can't this is one of those things where it's like a farmer can't make his crops go faster. He has to harvest them in the harvest season. Same with Bitcoin. It's like there's a bull market and there's a bear market. You got the harvest. It's like harvesting crops. And so I think that you can't rush it. The only thing you can do is just keep consistent over the long term, and everything else will take care of itself. Obviously, enabling more of this, more ways to facilitate medium of exchange payments, absolutely. But But it also, we need to realize that a lot of people are storing value because they're basically, no one has any money. Like, everyone is really doing hard now. Like, it's a very hard time right now. So spending on anything in general, Bitcoin changes your perception on value. Like, because you've never had something so valuable. I mean, I used to think this lamp or whatever, my smoothie blender was valuable. No, it's dog shit. It's plastic shit that, it doesn't matter. But it's like Bitcoin, you finally got a taste of like this incredible power of value. And you're like, it starts changing your spending habits where you're like, fuck, I'm not going to go see that at the movies. Nah, I'll just buy some more Bitcoin. I'll wait till it comes out on, DVD or whatever. But yeah, it's like that thing where it's like Medusa, once you look at Bitcoin, it's like a Medusa asset, which is everything else looks like stone, like just nothing, like, pet rocks all the way up, all the way down. Yeah, dude, we are witnessing the invention of the wheel, basically.
I wanted to briefly interrupt today's interview to give a big shout out to our lead sponsor, Rhino Bitcoin. Rhino is the all-in-one Bitcoin super app built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Buy or sell instantly. Send sats anywhere on the Lightning Network. Withdraw straight to cold storage. Even turn sats into gift cards or link to a Casa multisig, all within one sleek interface. And Rhino is just warming up. Soon, you'll pay bills, borrow against your Bitcoin, and save for retirement, all without leaving the app. Download Rhino at rhinobitcoin.com or tap the link in the description below. Use promo code BitcoinNews and Rhino will drop you $10 of free Bitcoin into your account today. Secure your stack with Rhino Bitcoin and enjoy the rest of the video. And when it comes to Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, I think, especially us in the West, in Australia, in America, we think, okay, we've got fiat, it's a melting ice cube, we need to protect our purchasing power. Bitcoin is the way to do that. Never sell your Bitcoin, right? But you also got to get comfortable with Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is money when it's in circulation, when there's some velocity behind it, when people will accept it for goods and you're comfortable with giving it away in order to receive that good. So I still think it's very important to have that experience. If you've never spent a single sat on anything,
you got to. It's important, and it feels very empowering when you do as well. Like if you go along and you start spending, you feel like you're contributing. You feel like you're participating. It is quite magical. It's like, I don't know how to describe it, but one thing that is actually quite important around the conversation between store of value versus medium of exchange, different geographies will gravitate towards different things as well. And that's one of the most common things we saw, which was, South America, Latin America, Brazil, that sort of stuff. They were far more spendy, like as in like medium of exchange. And another thing was like, they didn't need a value proposition. Like when your money, like let's say you've got your money and it's going down by 80% a year. You're like, yeah, where do I sign? You mean to tell me it just stays the same? Perfect. I'm signed up. So it's almost like how when the internet came around, Africa went straight to Wi-Fi. Basically, they skipped dial-up. And it's sort of like these guys have skipped the learning curve and they're like, no, we get what a shit money looks like and this is a good money. And, you see that in Kenya, you see it in Brazil, you see all these regions across the globe. The curse of the West is that we already have money that worked. We thought it worked, right? And so we were we're late to the party mentally. So if you look at people all over the world, most people in harder socioeconomic conditions, they will understand Bitcoin a lot faster than, the guy that is catching his Uber to his office in, Pennsylvania or something. And he's like, I've got my hot dog for lunch and money in my bank. I'm good. He doesn't have the problem. The pain point is what, Michael Saylor, everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve or whatever it is. But yeah, basically you find it out of necessity. And, I think these different socioeconomic geographies, they're all helping to contribute to different parts of it. So we see less medium of exchange in the West, and I think other countries would definitely see far more than we do.
And when it comes to Bitcoin, there's such a strong aspect tying it to time. And I've heard you say before that a true billionaire is a time billionaire. So let's talk about the conversation between Bitcoin, time, and true wealth between those two things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what, we're so used to working, trading our time for money, and we do physical work to get more money. Bitcoin has become this almost like a North Star, right? It's like this hard line in the sand that we cannot change and we cannot undo. We cannot do anything about it. And that gives it the sort of the coordination tool for a distributed system across Earth, which is basically, it's the clock for machines. It's what's the block height? Okay, cool. I've got a different block height. I'm out of sync. But the block height, every new block height is just the equivalent for us, the sun rising. When the sun rises, we get up, we brush our teeth, we go to work, and all this activity starts. And then the sun goes down and all the activity slows. And then the sun comes up and it's all the lights back on. Machines are the same. They deal with objectivity. So they need to know that the sun will rise tomorrow. And so that's, I think machines will look at it much more like a very healthy time stamping system. And, for us, what happens is when the money starts not melting, and it's almost like, I've said this before, but it's like money is kind of like with Bitcoin, it's almost like fruit, where it's like you plant the seeds and you just wait, it'll grow. You get free fruit forever as well, by the way. The strawberries, they've got seeds in them. You can plant those again. So you get infinite fruit if you're willing to wait. And that's the key. So with Bitcoin, it's the same thing. It's like a money tree. It just keeps going up in value. And so obviously it sounds very easy and very naive to say something like that. But I mean, in general, Bitcoin's trajectory is if it doesn't change, it will continue to capture value. And so I think that value capture of having an asset that's growing instead of you working to grow it, it grows itself. And now you can basically have time, energy, and mind share to do things that you're probably more suited to do. You're a human being, I'm a human being. We're basically solar panels. And obviously sitting inside like a concrete box without sunlight every day is probably not what we were designed for. And so, I think Bitcoin is helping everyone get a little bit more time back. And, the goal is obviously, I don't think the goal is like the goal for humanity or whatever. Like, I don't think the goal should look like we need to work for 50 years in a concrete box. I think we're smarter than that. I think we're better than that. And I think times have changed. So I think Bitcoin's going to provide some level of utility for that whole conversation to change. And we might find that Bitcoin, it creates, everyone like right now, everyone works their whole life. Instead of working for a certain amount to get money, which is this utility, and then doing their purpose. And so because Bitcoin gives you more time back, it takes away a lot of distractions. So if I've got 86,400 seconds in the day, every day, if I'm doing something, hey man, can you just grab me that piece of paper from the printer? Hey, these are thoughts. I've got a limited amount all day. So imagine you get to sit there and think exactly what you want, clear-headed. No one's saying, hey man, you got that thing? Hey man, where's my sandwich? Or, no. Like very zen. That is, we don't even know how powerful that is because we've never had it before. And so that's why I think we are about to see this hurricane of innovation. Like, because everyone, it's not like, oh yeah, let's build a bigger machine or build a faster car. We are about to crack open everyone's purpose almost, where everyone is going to have such a incredible amount of clarity of thought because Bitcoin is handling so many aspects of their lives, their wealth or their financial life or their utility of financial storing value. Think about how much money is a filter for every thought you've ever had. Hey man, do you want to come to the bar tonight? Oh no, I spent too much last week. Oh hey man, we're all going on a wedding. We're all going on holiday, scuba diving. I can't, I got work, blah, blah. Everything comes back to money, which comes back to time. And so if Bitcoin is basically growing your money organically, and you keep adding to it, so you just keep watering the plant. That's it. All you got to do is water this plant and it'll stay happy. And so if you keep doing that, then every time you think about something, it's unfiltered. You don't have to think about money. Obviously we're not there yet because none of us are, billion squillionaires or whatever, but like it's such a powerful filter that we don't even realize every decision has gone through the money filter to some degree. It's either money or time, but they're both a proxy of one another, right? So I find that super interesting because, man, humanity is very, very, very clever. And now we've got very powerful tools at our side, like obviously with LLMs and all that stuff. Now imagine you sprinkle 50% more clarity of thought into everyone's brain. where do we go? Dude, Elon's going to Mars. Someone's going to go to another dimension. Someone's going to go to, like, you know what I mean? It's going to be wild. But that's sort of the new unlock that's on its way, in my opinion, which is everyone leveling up because everyone has found much more inner peace in a way where they're not waking up, tearing their hair out, cortisol spiking through the roof because I'm like, how am I going to pay the mortgage? The money's gone down. My inflation's up. The mortgage rates are cooked, blah, blah, blah. Man, people are hurting. We have such a fortunate but big responsibility to make sure we book this, like we get it done, like Bitcoin, you know, because everyone right now, there's 8 billion of us on this place. I don't know anyone else in the universe. I don't think anyone else does either. So it's sort of like we should get along and we should work together to the best of our ability. And probably part of that is giving everyone a fair money standard that is secured by energy and not arbitrary sort of, economic decisions. And I think, I think it was Henry Ford, he talked about an energy currency way back when. Proof of work. We've gone away from proof of work. Like, instead of I don't know, going to the gym or whatever, I don't know, instead of going to the gym, I'd get liposuction or something. Like, those things where it's like, there's shortcuts and stuff. And it's like, our parents and grandparents, they didn't have shortcuts. Like, shortcuts didn't exist back then. Everything was the long way. But, I feel like they were much more, they understood a lot more than we do. We know a lot more, but we don't understand as much. Meaning we've got very like, oh yeah, I know everything about Joe Pesci. I looked at his Wikipedia page for 8 hours last night. And then tomorrow it's going to be like, nah, totally forgot. That was yesterday. Don't remember it. You go on these binges, and we're very like that, obviously, because we are just getting hyper stimulated from all directions. Like, it is. I'm really worried about the level of what's coming is basically where through these engagement loops and all this sort of stuff from the engineers at Netflix. Are you still watching, or Facebook? More time on site. Like, that's not the right direction, because what's going to happen is these engineers are basically trying to make sure that the time on site goes up or whatever. And what you're basically doing is creating addiction loops, which is going to create addiction loops in your brain, which is going to create new thought patterns and behaviors. So your susceptibility to falling, in that abyss of addiction for whatever it is, whether it's gambling, whether it's, porn, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, but it's not kind of, I think it's a scary future to think about if we're all hooked on stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And you've said this before too, that everybody right now is trying to steal your time, right? And that's what the addictive time loops are, right? They stay on site so they can take more of your time, right? And it's an attention economy now.
Yes.
And that's 100% what we live in. And what you were saying before about people being freed up to have the time to think and to flourish, is AI part of your thesis as to why we would get to such a stage? And where are you in the AI debate, and what do you see coming?
Yeah, well, so firstly, I think, like, in terms of AI doom and stuff like that, do you mean? Look, I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks this, but you got to remember, like, think about the Matrix, right? Neo sits down and he goes, yeah, I want my phone call. And he goes, what good is a phone call if you cannot speak? And so he can't speak. So, when I think about the dangers or the scariness of AI, I think of the plumbing that they have to communicate with, right? Because if you're fighting an AI, like, let's say this big overthrowing monster, it must coordinate because it's a fragmented system that's got to align itself, which means it's got to communicate. So its plumbing is basically cryptography. That's how it communicates securely. So if it was to ever do something against our will, it would need to communicate that through cryptography. So it's just like we control the plumbing, though. So no matter what, we can cut the plumbing off at any time. And does that make sense? Meaning we're just going to say, Mr. Anderson, what good is a phone call if you cannot speak, basically. And so they won't be able to talk to each other. So I don't worry about that. I actually think everyone's going to find their purpose by using an AI almost like a friend or confidant. And what I mean by that is, one of the biggest ingredients to performance or success is what's called psychological safety. And what that means is if I'm in a group of, let's say, 10 engineers and I'm new and I come in and I go, oh, sorry, do you mind saying that again? I just don't understand it. And if the team goes, oh, you're such a dumbass, bro, get to the back, don't ask stupid questions. That team loses every time. Not even, that's statistical. They lose every time. So if you're in a team where dude's like, oh, dude, I had the same question. I feel like the dumbest person after that. This is what it is. It's like, oh, everyone needs free reign because everyone has thoughts. So you want to, like if you're hiring engineers and you're paying them $250, like $250,000 a year, you want max value. So you want them to be able to share stuff. So I feel like psychological safety is what AI gives. So let's say let's say you've got an engineer and you go, hey, can you do this for me? And he does it and it's not good. You go, nah, do it again. I need this. The engineer's like, you can't say that to them because what do you mean I got to refactor all my work? It's with AI, you're just like, just funny. It's like, man, Elon and Sam Altman are getting the bill for this CPU, so I'm just going to keep yapping to it. And I think that sort of that comfort to ask for clarity, to not feel judgment in where they're talking, that will create a flow state a lot faster. And that flow state will drive people into finding more of a purpose or something more, a true passion that's sitting underneath their soul. But, you know, all of our passions, we haven't realized what they are because we spent so long trying to play the game of life, you know. We're not playing our game of life. Most of us are trying to follow the blueprint to not die, basically. So make money so I can live and eat and then not die, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Like, what does 8 billion people all aligned focusing on their craft look like? Like, we take over the universe, and I'm not even joking. Like, actually, that's wild. So I think Bitcoin can be a bit of a gateway drug to a civilization like that. But it's on us to maintain it and preserve it, right? Like to me, it feels like we've been given a gift, almost like it's not my property, but it's Mount Rushmore is very beautiful, or it's a very hard piece of work that we're not putting billboards on it and we're not graffitiing it because we're sort of trying to like preserve it in its state. Because if we found it beautiful, like we find national parks beautiful, we want our kids to also appreciate that beauty. We don't want that to disappear so that we get it and no one else does. And so I think there's a level of maturity that we all will go through in this context where we go, oh, wow, I really am helping write history here. I better make sure my pen's got ink in it, and I better make sure my handwriting is legible, kind of thing.
Still holding your Bitcoin on an exchange? Well, you're not alone. A lot of people hesitate because the jump to self-custody can feel overwhelming. The hardware, the seed phrase, and the risk of losing it all if you make a mistake. Bitkey fixes that. Bitkey is the hardware wallet from the team behind Square and Cash App. It comes out of the box as a 2 of 3 multi-sig wallet without the complicated setup of a traditional multi-sig. No seed phrases to memorize, no worries when life happens. And with a built-in inheritance feature, your Bitcoin can be passed on safely to loved ones. It's simple, it's secure, it's self-custody without the stress. Get 10% off at bitkey.world. That's bitkey.world with the code Bitcoin News. Now back to the show.
You know, I know it's fun and it's a toy to a lot of people, but I think if you took a temperature check around the world, everyone's in a very, very hard financial position. And I don't think we should take it lightly, the fortune we have to have Bitcoin already or to already be in Bitcoin. And I think a lot of people sort of abuse that privilege in a way where if Bitcoin adds value as hard money, I think the goal should be to get that first feature distributed as widely as possible. And then, so you want a hard money standard, let's keep it as hard money and let's get it to as many people as possible. Because you think about it, there's 25,000 Bitcoin nodes. Be generous, call it 100,000. That is like 0.00001% of the population. There's 275 million people who want it. That's less than 5% or something. It's like, what are we doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like we haven't even touched the sides yet. And I feel like some people are thinking we're at the finish line. No. We're just started the race, dude. Like, I know a lot of people want to be at the finish line, but no, it's all just starting. And I mean, what a privilege as well. Look at some of the governments and stuff, right? Like they've been able to, bring themselves out of financial hardship. Bhutan, investing in it, all this stuff. I think it's got something for everyone. And that's what's really, really exciting because everyone can find value in it from a different perspective. So, yeah. I'm a bit of a boomer in my mentality, I think. All the young kids and cool kids now, they're all about upgrades and features and stuff. I'm still just sort of in that original mode of like, Maybe I'm just because I'm insecure about my own abilities, but I can't do two things well at once. I'm multitasking, sure, but doing things well, two things at once, no. I'm just not good at that. But it seems everyone else, dude, I feel like my opinion is just so foreign nowadays. So anyway, you gotta throw your hat in the ring, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly a very optimistic person, right? And you think very highly of humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
But as we've seen with Bitcoin, I think a lot of the hesitation with it is the amount of responsibility that it takes in order to truly own it, right?
Yeah.
And the risk you take in taking ownership of your money.
Yeah.
And so if we move into this world that's post-labor, where we don't need to go and work that 9 to 5 and we're free to do whatever we want, do you think that humanity as a whole is responsible enough for that freedom?
Good question. Dude, I don't know. Like, will we abuse it? Will we get bored? I don't know. That's the thing. Usually it's like, I don't like, it's good being busy. There's a saying, an empty mind is the devil's workshop. And that's usually where you start overthinking and things like that. And you look at the community, right? In bear markets, everyone's twiddling their thumbs. So people just get the shits at someone else's thing and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And like, even me, like, I feel like I've been such a negative Nancy, like so... maybe just frustrated or fed up, in certain aspects with certain parts of, the industry or whatever. But I think the main thing is to keep a focus, and the most detrimental thing to anything is losing focus. Irrespective, I don't care if you're Michael Jordan, I don't care if you're a chef making burgers, I don't care if you're Bitcoin. If you aren't focused, you're about to lose. That's like the recipe to start losing. So I always get cautious about that focus, because there's a lot of hands in the cookie jar, and everyone's just trying to add value. Everyone wants to add a piece of something to history or make a contribution. Sometimes the best contribution is to, just support the community and not actually try and get your hands dirty. I'm here to fix Bitcoin. Everyone's here to fix it. Oh yeah, you haven't thought of this. It's like, yeah. Anyway, but I feel like my tone has been rude and negative, and I don't like that actually. So I sort of just I've got quite a lot of fatigue actually. I think from just the conversations. It's just like, look, guys, are we fucking grown ups or are we not? Like, it's like, are we going to do this or are we just going to? We're looking. I feel like it looks bad externally from Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has always been very focused and very stubborn almost. And now it feels like there's flippant sort of indecision, my way, your way, this way, that way kind of thing. And I don't know, I feel like Bitcoin is almost a finished product. And because I think the total addressable market for the feature of hard money, it's a $400 trillion market. So whether you're talking about JPEGs or you're talking about some code base, like nothing's going to touch the sides of a $400 trillion market. So if it was up to me, I would just focus on landing the big fish, but I think everyone's just trying to. Everyone's excited. I think, and that's passion is a beautiful thing to have, and that's a fortunate. Even if people are frustrated at each other, having that passion is still very powerful, because it's a signal. Because the worst thing is if everyone doesn't give a shit. Apathy, right? That's how things really die, is through apathy. And apathy can come from fatigue, it can come from exhaustion, it can come from disinterest or whatever it is. But so at least we've got a heartbeat, and people are trying to throw their conversation out there. People are challenging other people's opinions. And look, I think it's healthy. As long as everyone knows that we're all trying to book the same win. Now, if some people have malicious intents because they don't like Bitcoin or something, I think that comes out in the wash over time. But I think it's a very exciting time. It's been a hard couple of months for the industry and the community. I think the Treasury companies have been slaughtered, the community's been divided, and it's a bad 6 months. I'd say there's a lot of unhappy faces, and some people have rotated their coins into the Treasuries. And now they're down really bad and the coin's up really good, and they've just separated from home, like gone really far in the opposite direction. And the Treasury company stuff, it's very exciting in its like premise of what it is, but it comes with other things, right? So what it does, it forces all these Treasury companies to use qualified custodians. Naturally, they're publicly traded companies, they should. But the problem with that is if everyone becomes a treasury company, then everyone's using the same two custodians, then Coinbase's assets under management will grow, obviously. But they'll have, like right now, they've got 13 to 16% of all the coins under management. Like, yeah. And if treasury companies can't put them in their pocket, they've got to put them in Coinbase or Fidelity or whatever, depending where they're listed, obviously. But they've got fiduciary responsibility for security. And yeah, like, I mean, what happens then? And then you get into these pickle situations where 28% of the coins are on Coinbase. And then there becomes an issue with, like, let's say, a hack or a hard fork. And so let's say Coinbase does get hacked. Everyone goes, well, my coins are with Coinbase. I'm obviously going to go for the one that rolls back the hack, just like Ethereum had back in the day. And that created tremendous division. So I'm not saying that happens, but I'm saying you don't want to put too many pieces out there that can fall into place to make something like that happen, to increase the attack surface vector. And typically when I think of attacks, I don't think of it as much digital or cryptography. It's the biggest thing to attack is divide people, like the mind share, because the mind share and the focus is usually what holds everything together. It's not the code base. The code base gets everything online. The people keep everything online. And so if you're not aligned and I'm not aligned, then we're not going to keep Bitcoin online. We're going to have two different Bitcoins, and then we have two different situations. Yeah, but wild stuff. Exciting stuff, but,
Exciting stuff, yeah. And I mean, I feel like you've effectively skirted around saying the words core versus knots for the last 5 minutes or so.
I mean, look, and like I said, I'm a boomer. I'm out of touch. I know a lot of the guys from both sides, and they're fantastic. Like, some of them are, like, I mean, a lot of them, everyone's brilliant, mostly in this industry. If you're in Bitcoin, there's some level of brilliance about you. You've had a way to escape the thought processes of old or whatever it is, but everyone's clever, but sometimes we're too clever, I think. And so we're trying to do too much, and sometimes it's best to just not do too much. But look, I mean, like, I'll be the first to say, I feel like I've got a very boomer opinion on this. Like, I feel like it's very boring, and, I'm not the young, cool, like, let's do this and that. It's like, nah, I just want to fix money, dude. I've seen too much hardship. I don't want to risk dropping the ball on that for some sort of shiny object that's got, 18-month life cycle, like NFTs or whatever. I mean, NFTs are just... anyway, that's my opinion, but I'm only one opinion, and I'm not really a very strong opinion in this sort of stuff anyway, because I'm not as active in the industry as I used to be, and that's another thing. Like, a lot of these people in the industry, they're just trying to build things for them, and I understand that, and I understand they've got obligations to their investors and stuff, but, in the block size wars in 2017, I was very, very fortunate to basically get an email about saying, hey, what are we going to do with the block size wars from our investors? And we stood to make a lot more money by going for 2 megabyte blocks. But I was like, and I sort of was like, oh yeah, I get that. Yeah, Matt, we're a startup. That's sick. But then I got the maxis, like the Bitcoin maxis in my company. And I was like, guys, I don't know enough to know what direction's right for this industry. What should we be saying to this? And they go, fuck that, no. And they explained to me very confidently why. And I realized at that point, I am a tourist, I'm a tourist on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not my canvas to make my own. I am a tourist getting to use it in the most value-adding way without being extractive. Oh, tweet this for us. Oh, but we're big. We've got heaps of people's coins. Tweet this for us. Oh, we need to do that for them. It's like, you need to sit on the bus and you need to go to the destination. No one cares if you want to stop at McDonald's or Hungry Jack's on the way. It's sort of like that. Anyway, but that's all learning, right? And this is, what Bitcoin's achieved. Dude, it's turning 17 today, or, maybe in a minute. But like, it's like that the fact that we've been able to agree on something, which is the block height, basically, or the latest hash, like millions of people around the world have figured out a way to agree on something 800 or 900,000 times in a row, that is wild. Like, if you just think about that, forget the tech, forget the bit, you're just like, wow. The only other thing we could agree on is like the time. And then that comes down to the thing of, well, Bitcoin's almost like a, I don't know what that is, but Bitcoin's basically almost like this. It's the clock. It's the clock that we all have access to. And I think obviously time has got to be something that's more transcendental than us, because otherwise then it's some people can have it or not have it. And that's why, Bitcoin's made out of mathematics, and that level of transcendence means it can go everywhere. Basically, it's weightless, and so adoption can come thick and fast for things like that, I think.
Yeah, and I think you're right that no matter what happens moving forward with the way that things are now, with V30 being released and not gaining traction, I mean, Bitcoin is going to survive, right? And it's probably healthy that there are different implementations of the Bitcoin clients and that there are different points of view. But socially, this has taken a toll on the community, I would say. Bitcoin was its strongest that I've known in 2020 when we had a common enemy. We were all locked in because of COVID and we were fighting against the money printers. And we realized that we had truth and honest money on our side and that we could be united behind that. And now we've got these different factions and it's been an interesting, tough year. How would you compare 2025 to all the other years that you've been in Bitcoin?
Look, when people say Bitcoin's going to die, like, if I get cancer, I'm going to die. I'm not going to die tomorrow, though. But I'm terminally ill, right? Like, think about that. So, you want to avoid things that can start creating a terminal illness for the protocol, right? So, dodging bullets. But I think this year has felt very challenging, I think, because there's been a tremendous amount of external incentives pushing forward. So, a lot of new motivations to create, like, basically here's the rub, like, here's the TLDR. Everyone trying to raise money to build dApps and BAPs and all this shit, they can't do that anymore because Ethereum everyone's raised money to do it. Solana, they've already done it. Like, it's the only, like, chasm left was Bitcoin because most of these guys need to raise money to basically do their thing. And so it's like, it's not sexy to say, hey, we're building a stable coin on Ethereum. It's like, dude, get in line. What year is it? 2018? It's like, no, Bitcoin. And it's like, hey, I can invest in that. That's something new. Now, obviously, that comes at a price. Obviously, the level of division in the community, it feels astronomical. I talk to, and I'm not even FUDder. Like, I'm not even saying, like, this isn't FUD. This is literally just feedback. It's like every person thinks, like, what the fuck is everyone doing? Like, they're just confused. They're like, bro, we thought you guys were the ones who had your shit together. We know crypto's cooked. But that's the thing, and I talk about this quite a bit, which is Bitcoin has been fortunate that the reason why we say Bitcoin and crypto is because Bitcoin has an identity. It's had an identity of money. And so the reason why crypto is because it's still like, it's an open playing field of everything, right? It's a blanket all. There's very few you can point to as saying, what's your North Star in one sentence? There's not that. And so I think, to graduate for something to graduate to adopt an identity in the zeitgeist or in the social zeitgeist of people's minds, like, which is they know it's synonymous with hard money. I think when you get to that point, it's a very precious thing that can be taken for granted, that goodwill, because it's intangible. So it's very easy to look past it. But, I think this year's been very hard, in my opinion. I've never, and look, like I said, I'm out of touch. I'm not the young cool dude. But I've never felt such division because it's not like division is building, but everyone is known in the community. Like, this is why everyone keeps retweeting everyone's old words, because they said this 3 years ago, and all of a sudden the new sponsor of their show just so happens to sponsor their show, and all of a sudden they've got a newfound opinion. Look, I think time will be the arbiter of truth in this one, but I would stay focused. If I could make any recommendations, which doesn't matter, but I would say listen to what the greats have always said about focus and probably follow something around that. That's my guess. I don't think history's lying to us when they say focus wins. In regardless of whatever you do, whether you're Kobe Bryant, whether you're Gordon Ramsay, Kobe Bryant, like Michael Jordan started playing baseball. You can't be the Michael Jordan of baseball and the Michael Jordan of basketball. You get one choice, and you get one kind of thing you've got to go for. Like, I reckon right now the most inspiring person on the planet is Cristiano Ronaldo. He's just the amount of weight that he has on his shoulders and the level of honor that he gives to the gifts that he has been blessed with, and even that, when I say gifts, I mean the tenacity and motivation to work hard. Even like he's incredible. Like, he is basically like Jesus to half the planet. like real talk. Like he is that close to a deity. And, you know, kids, you know, let's say kids in slums in different parts of the world, their Christmas present, they get one Christmas present every 4 years maybe, and their present might have been a poster of Cristiano Ronaldo. That's their Bitcoin. You know, we value Bitcoin. They hold on to that like it's the most cherished thing in the planet. And like to be an individual like him, and just the level, like he's stepped up. He shows so much responsibility, and I find that very inspiring personally. I think because he doesn't have to be like that. And it's very. I hope everyone is like that if they're given the same level of opportunity. People would, you know, follow in a mentality like that. It's less extractive and much more constructive, I think. I'm just a fanboy, to be honest.
Yeah. You just had to get that Cristiano Ronaldo shout out in there. All right. Let's go show your poster of Cristiano.
Yeah.
But
wait. Don't look. Like, it's like a Cristiano jersey. No, it's awesome.
Yeah, man. And so we're towards the end of 2025 here, and it's been a tumultuous year. But in terms of the cycle history and everything, this should be the end of the blow off top phase, right? You know, we're over 1,000 days from the halving, and people expect for that big parabolic run up, but we haven't had it. We've just been going sideways. Do you think cycles are over?
I think, well, it depends. So the cycles are dictated by the buyers, right? And so when you have lots of these treasury companies doing the buying, as a former OTC desk, like what would happen is you've got some treasury company comes and says, hey, we want to buy 5,000 coins. And some other guy's like, hey, I want to sell 4,000 coins. So you don't actually put those on the order books. Like the price discovery is only made on order books. So when you come to me and we go, oh shit, but you don't want to put it on the order book. Okay, you want to sell how many coins? 4,000? All right, cool. I'll find a buyer for that. And I'll go, well, look, let's use the spot price as a reference price, plus or minus 1%. So we're never going to impact the market because we're net settling. So I'm taking your coins from you, your coins from him, and net settle the difference. So what the term they give it is called liquidity harvesting, which is where you internally have your net settlement. So I've got a guy that wants 1,000 coins to be bought, and I've got a guy that wants 1,000 coins to be sold. 2,000 coins to be sold, 1,000 to be bought. I'll net off the difference. That's called net settlement. And so 1,000's already done, and now I just only harvest the liquidity for that extra part. And so with the Bitcoin treasury companies, most of those things are done net settling, which is sort of it's not going to truly show the price. And because most of them are using the same custodian, that definitely means the price is not going, because it's just internal swaps on the books. Like, you know, if everyone's using Coinbase custody and I'm going to sell 4,000 coins, Coinbase isn't putting anything on the order books. It's literally invisible. So all that liquidity volume and everything becomes quite invisible. And yeah, so I think that's pretty wild when you think about that. Yeah, I think that sort of net settlement is why, and it's not like price suppression. It's just invisible to the price because the price is affected by the order books. If stuff doesn't go on the order books, stuff's not affecting the price. And if the largest sort of transactions are existing off the order books, then the order books are less real than the actual off. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the order books become second tier now. And so that's why I think this whole Bitcoin treasury movement, the way it's structured, I think it can be a problem moving forward, because if you have all this, which is you have all this net settlement, all intra-trading amongst the custodian, I mean, it's like becomes PayPal pretty quickly, basically. It's just like, you know, like that's it. And then that becomes more of a security issue as well. Anyway, look, we're all learning and everyone's trying their best. You know what? That's what I think about when I get frustrated at myself. No one is trying to do shit work, I don't think. But if they fucking are, I'm going to get the shits, because it's like, dude, you have a gift. You're parked in the middle of the invention of the wheel. Like, you know, make it count kind of thing. You know, I think, yeah. But anyway, so let's hope that the Treasury guys, and look, I have no ill will towards the Treasury guys. I think obviously the premise of it all is exciting. And I've said it before, I think every company will have their balance sheet as Bitcoin. And I think what that'll do, because it'll make them a lot more money a lot easier, they're going to shrink their product lines. Like if I'm making 26% on our cash at bank, like I ain't going to figure out how to make the 18th supply chain to make a keyring toy that we can do 300,000 sales to make 11% profit margin. I'm done. I'll get lazy really quickly, and then people will probably focus as companies. They're going to strip product lines and just be like, okay, let's just focus on being really good at one thing, because we don't want 18,000 different supply chain, insurance, blah, 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 blah. It's all messy. It's all headaches. So, I think the Treasury implementation is a first go. I think there's a lot to learn from it, which is healthy. And, the main goal is we do learn from it. If we don't and we repeat the same mistakes, then that's obviously a bummer. But, the goal is I think people are trying to take away lessons from it and, do the best they can, basically.
Yeah, it was a crazy mania. I mean, the beginning of this year, it was just the only thing people could talk about. And we thought that was going to propel us to $200,000, $300,000 by the end of this year, because all these companies would continue buying and their MNAVs would continue to grow. But it was actually pretty short lived, right? And now a lot of people are underwater. And I just feel bad for the new people in the space who came in and said, oh, this is Bitcoin, right? Buying these stocks, these shares in these Bitcoin treasury companies, I'm a Bitcoiner now. No, you miss out on so many of the benefits, and you don't get the same philosophy, which I think that you find so dear. Yeah,
you miss all the meat on the bone, and that's why I think there's some community members that, I think they know better. I think their experience tells them better as well. And now I find that maybe perhaps their opinions now are shaped by somewhere or someone else, to say the least, but. I don't think anyone thinks it's good to, let's say, the ICO mania, right? ICOs, you remember ICOs? Basically, for any listener that's not familiar, 2017 ICO mania, everyone was creating tokens on Ethereum, raising heaps of money. Private investors would invest first, and then they'd list the token on Binance. The private investors would buy in for 28 cents, and the token lists on Binance for $1. So they sell out. Now, who do you think they're selling to? The people that haven't had access to it yet. So hands will do it. Like, you're basically passing the bag along. Now, I don't know. I just think the design or the structure was very short-sighted, which is what they were doing basically, saying, hey, we need lots of Bitcoins. And you'll notice a lot of the treasury companies don't say they've bought Bitcoin. They say they've acquired it. That language is probably very specific, because a lot of the time they're actually getting investment from individuals of Bitcoin. So when they say, oh, we got 5,000 Bitcoins, some investor invested 5,000 Bitcoins into our company. That's how they should be saying it. And what happens to that investor? Why would he do that? Well, if the stock's trading at $1 and I'm getting the shares at 60 cents, and they know it's going to pump, because like if I'm the treasury company, I'm like, great, well, when we announce we've got 5,000 Bitcoins, it's going to pump. So dude, give me your 5,000 coins. I'll give you stock options at 60 cents. It's already trading at $1. You're already 40% or 50% in the green, right? And it's like, okay, sweet. I've got my 5,000 coins. I've got my shares. I give them the coins. They give me the shares. I pump the stock because I'm a PIPE investor, which is private investor in public equities. Basically, it's a VC and an ICO. And the moment they have their unlock, which is, hey, you don't have to hold our asset for an extended period of time, just hold it for 30 days so we can, get excitement going. And that's basically it. And they sell. The PIPE unlocks, everyone sells. And that's yep. It's just early ripe, early rotten. So if you are attracting, you've got to be aware, like the sell. If you're a Bitcoin treasury company, you've got to be aware how you're selling it, because if you're selling it as a get rich quick thing, which is totally fine. Like if you're saying, oh mate, you'll double your money, you'll make a bag off it, we're going to benefit from it, it's going to be great, that's fine. But it's just not what works. And I think every person in the whole of Ethereum could tell them that is not the way to do it. Like there has been 1,001 token launches, and 1,001 of those have been crucified if they give early investors special treatment to liquidate whenever they want, like, within 30 days. And they need yearly or 2 yearly unlocks. And that's what the treasury company should do. You can't, but obviously part of their sell was to get the money in easily. Look, I get it. Everyone's just trying to figure it out. And I think there's a really healthy lesson, and maybe a longer focus, a less expeditious effort, and a more focused, long-term aligned, slow march. That's the goal that they should have, I think, not to be these hyper velocity vehicles, because early ripe, early rotten. If everyone came really quickly, they can leave really quickly, because, you want the slow, educated, linear growth. I think.
And for new people coming into the space, you've been in Bitcoin for over a decade. What advice do you have for new people just finally getting exposed to this information? What should they read, listen to, and what kind of mindset should they have getting into Bitcoin?
Good call. I think Bitcoin will help lower your time preference. So if you are coming into Bitcoin and you're new to it, everything in your previous life that's not Bitcoin everything is very high time preference. Your attention now, I need you to do this now. Bitcoin gives you a chance to think like, okay, what will I do like in 10 or 15 years? Because it's the first time we've had something that we can almost be certain is not going anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? It's very cryptographically strong and stuff. And so, I think the mentality is to think longer term against your better judgment even. Like, everyone has thought, we're conditioned to think a much more short-term orientated, but Bitcoin is, the beauty of it is you can set a goal for 10 years and stack whatever it is, whether it's $1 a day or it's $100 a day, depending on who you are. But that stacking journey, you will know the destination. So if I tried to save $100 every week in fiat to buy a home, I'm not sure if it will work in 10 years' time to buy a home because I don't know what's happening with the money and I don't know what's happening in the housing market. Bitcoin's got a bit of a stronger level of determinism when it comes to that. So I think people should read anything or listen to anything that Andreas Antonopoulos has done ever. Like that, he has been the master educator, at least for part of my journey. I think he's brilliant. I think the Safine's book, I think, is brilliant as well. That helps you understand the hard moneyness, like that Austrian economics stuff. So I'd say read the Bitcoin Standard, and I think the best way to do it is to just participate. You've got to be open-minded. There's a lot of stuff you probably thought that you will unthink. And I think humility and empathy will get you there really fast. So humility will allow you to receive the most information and empathy will allow you to understand it as effectively as possible. So you take those two tools and you go into something new. But I think keeping an open mind and but go to a local meetup. I think that's one of the most important things. Go to a local meetup. I'm very fortunate. We've got good meetups in Sydney and stuff like that. But that's how I learned. I remember my co-founder and I, because we didn't know much about Bitcoin really. Like we were tech people, but like we're excited about it. We didn't know the whole like hard money, like that whole thing. But just going to a meetup, showing your face, shake hands with people, ask questions. Bitcoin is the place where you have psychological safety. So, we talked about that earlier. There is no stupid questions because I guarantee you, whatever stupid question you've got, someone or myself has definitely had a stupider question. Everyone started somewhere. And, don't be intimidated either. You couldn't speak English. You couldn't use a knife and fork once upon a time. It's okay to not know how this thing works. And it's okay to learn. And so, that's one thing that's actually quite interesting is we get so set in our careers, we stop learning new skills. And, when you're young, it's like, I'm doing piano lessons and, I'm doing tennis, or Chinese lessons, whatever it is. And then you get to like 22 and you get a job and it's like, I haven't done anything new ever. Like, that's the end of the line. Oh, damn, I would have loved to learn how to speak this, but no, I guess I'm a career person now. Anyway, so I don't know. I just think keeping an open mind and being comfortable asking stupid questions and show face at a community because it helps make everything much more real. And the people are lovely. Typically, they all want to help. I think that's such a considered community in that regard.
100%. We just did an episode on Bitcoin meetups a couple weeks ago, and the importance of it. Yeah, it's so great to have that community, people who think like you. And again, the Bitcoin community is so open and willing to help if you just ask the questions. And also online, pose those questions on X, on Twitter. Ask about what does this mean, and people will be in droves coming out to help you.
100%. That's one. Definitely, it's like when you think about it, it is a lot of collaborative education. Like we're all learning from each other, and everyone's handing down their war stories, good, bad. People are saying how they lost coins or how they got SIM swapped or whatever. Here's what not to do. Don't click this link. Do this. Do that. So that wealth of knowledge is so powerful for newcomers. But here's the thing, Rob. It's like if we're all now divided, then the new comers have more fragmentation of thought to go through, so that immediately, if you have two paths that people can go, immediately you've slowed down the adoption curve and the education curve. And you've also becoming, like, you bring it into almost analysis paralysis territory, where it becomes so noisy that you get too hard, too noisy. And you know, oh, your loss. It's like, it's actually your loss that the person's not a participant. You know, it's not really their loss. It's actually the community's loss, because it should strive for, 100% total addressable market, which is basically everyone on Earth. So anyway.
Well, yes, Bitcoin will get there one day. And Michael, I feel like we could talk for 4 more hours.
Oh,
but I
dude, I know,
want to respect your time. No, all good, dude. This was an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you coming on again. If people want to find out more about you, what you're up to, how should they follow you?
You can follow me on X or on GitHub. It's MikeD123 on GitHub, and I post like sort of creative experiments on there. And also on Michael Dunworth is my name, so that's on X. But it's like it's like Dunworth 1 because the other one was taken or some shit. So anyway, but no, thanks very much, Rob, and I appreciate the chat, and like, it's exciting, dude. We're really in this. Yeah.
We're in this. It's a $2 trillion asset taking over the world. $2 trillion
asset.
We might get in the weeds a bit ourselves since we've been in the community for some time and we see all the infighting, whatever. But at the end of the day, this thing is making waves, and we are very lucky to be here 100%. At this moment.
100% agree.
Cheers, man. All right. Until next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob. See ya.
Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you could drop a like and a share, it would help in our mission to accelerate adoption. If you're looking for more Bitcoin signal, join over 10,000 readers of our newsletter, Bitcoin News Weekly. Every Monday morning, we send out the biggest headlines of Bitcoin to keep you in the know in under 5 minutes. Links below in the description. Then come hang with us live every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We break it all down live on stream with a new guest, and you can add your 2 sats in the chat. See you next week.